Belshire Vestige.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and kick it off. In the top left-hand position of Belshire Vestige, the red Zerg, it is Acer's Scarlett.
And her opponents, often referred to in the Korean community as the Invisible Terran, but he's shown up today, and will he be able to show his incredible play once more? It is Evil Geniuses aLive!
Yeah, aLive was saying before in the round of 16 that a lot of Koreans don't really know about him. He's not that popular, but where he really blew up is the foreign community, you know, succeeding so well in the foreign tournaments, but we haven't really seen him blow up in the Korean scene because he hasn't won any GSLs. He hasn't really placed super top high. I mean, he did get, I think, once, but we haven't seen him get a first or second place. That's something that aLive is really striving for.
And even that nickname, he's just grateful for. aLive is not really looking for the flashiest of all glorious ceremonies to celebrate who he is, but he just wants, he acknowledges that recognition that even he is invisible, at least he's noticed. And we'll see how far he's able to go, because last time he went to the season finals, it seemed like he kept running into members from EG, having to play Revival, having to play a bunch of his teammates, but now he finally gets to advance without having to face a member from EG. It's amazing.
Well, that's to be said for all of Evil Geniuses, right? They're always playing against each other. It's so unfortunate. Very standard builds coming out here. aLive playing it a little bit greedy, going Command Center first. Now, you know, you've been playing a lot of TVZ in particular, Frodan. How do you feel about Command Center first on Belshire Vestige?
I think Command Center first is just universal in this matchup. If you want to go for an alternative build, you could go for a Reaper opening, hint, hint. But it's still, I feel like it's just very versatile. You can get good map control, you have good economy, you're pretty much safe from early builds for the most part, unless Zerg still want to go for a very fast Baneling bust. Even then, you still should be able to be prepared. I think it's not just Belshire Vestige, but almost every map, Command Center first is a good build. What about you, Andre?
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic build. It's very hard to counter. Even the so-called counter builds can be stopped by going Command Center first if you have good SimCity, so we'll see how things go. Scarlett was able to identify that her opponent is in fact going that Command Center first. She has not taken any gases. Now this is something that's a little bit interesting. Normally you do take gases really fast for that metabolic boost.
Yeah, she has delayed gas pretty significantly, but instead she can push out more queens.
Yeah.
And we've been seeing a little bit of a renaissance with this build when we saw Moonglade trying to push out this style in Challenger League of WCS America just a few weeks ago. And it used to be really popular back when NMrUUG was a GSL champion in early 2012. I want to see if Scarlett's going to go down that road, or maybe she shows something different.
Yeah, there's a lot of interpretation of this. We've seen 4 queens, which is, I think, the more standard these days. And as you said, the Renaissance build, which is, I would say, 6 queens. We haven't seen that in forever. NMrUUG was definitely one of the innovators of that build. I'm actually very interested to see, but based on the timings, okay, so Moonglade, how he did it was 6-minute gases, very PvZ-esque. But this time around, it's going to be 5-minute gases. This is the more standard conventional. That normally means that we're only going to see 4 queens coming out in this gasless fast expand.
All right, but 4 queens still can give you a good amount of creep spread. Scarlett's been a Zerg player, very fond of controlling the map, not just with vision, but partially also with mobility and creep. She is usually very diligent. Whenever you see a StarCraft Reddit thread, it's always TLO or Scarlett with creep spread. Maybe Nesty makes a cameo here and there, but it's always one of those 2 players, and Scarlett's always in that discussion of Zergs with phenomenal creep spread.
Yeah, and it's such an important thing to have, especially when you do a lot of these Zergling-based styles. If you're ever trying to get a lot of Zerglings and Banelings, well, how you catch up to the Marines, the Stim Marines, the Stim Marauders, is to have the creep spread and, of course, the Baneling speed.
So aLive is going to control the map with some Hellions. This is very good. You can get out 6 Hellions and then switch over into Mines immediately, and that usually sets up a really easy timing with 1-1 combat shields and Stim. You can kind of poke around. You don't have to do anything at all. But it's usually when you get the explosion of economy after the 3rd base is settled. Until then, you still poke around. Maybe you go in for a Hellion run-by. We've been seeing big attempts. In fact, that's how Polt won his MLG championship with Hellion run-bys. And you know, overall, I just feel like this is a pretty solid opening. Nothing too concrete happening thus far.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Still
Metabolic boost is a little bit late, but it's to be expected going very late gas. No Roach Warren, which I think is important to note. Normally you see Roach Warrens if you're well defending a third base, a very fast third base. Scarlett's third base is decent. It's not too fast, it's not too slow. She's still prioritizing a lot of drones, and look, she is teching up to lair. This is just very standard timing, so both players playing it conventional.
Okay. So Scarlett's going to continue sprint creep, getting her third base a little bit later, but it's just fine. Meanwhile, aLive, he doesn't start his third command center. In fact, he's kind of stayed on 2 base for a while and starting to get his starports out. And instead, opting for a little bit more production instead. He'll have to be more aggressive in the mid-game. What's your opinion on this, Andre?
He needs to get damage done, right? He needs to be able to deny the third base a little bit more because he's investing so much into non-economy things. You need the 3 command centers to really stay, I would say, equal with your Zerg opponent just because of the drone mechanics, the larva mechanics. You can just make so many more drones a lot faster than Terrans. So to get those 3 command centers out, it's absolutely essential. If you don't go 3 command centers and stay on 2, well, where are you going to get it? Instead of I guess excelling in your economy, you have to deny your opponent's economy.
This is so different from what we normally see. We're accustomed to viewing Terran when they go double engineering bay into 3 command center, kind of like Innovation's standard go-to build. Flash loves doing it as well. But it's only 1 engineering bay this time. That way, aLive can get out a little bit more production quicker. His third base has just started, so he wants to initiate this timing where he can go and poke as Zerg. How prepared is Scarlett here?
I think she's actually very well prepared. She needs to buy a little bit more time. You can see centrifugal hooks 50 seconds away. She already has banelings made. Creep spread is good, but here we go. The first engagement is going to happen here. 2 queens are going to go... No, just 1 queen is going to go down, and creep spread will be receded. That's going to be very nice. This hits right before centrifugal hooks.
Oh, no. Spinecrawler's out of position as well, Greedsorb. This is getting a little bit dicey here for Scarlett as her baneling speed is about 20 seconds from finishing. She is finishing about 10 banelings, but the third base is under siege. The drones have to go to a corner, and that's going to line up perfectly. More Zerglings are respawning here at the third hatchery, trying to catch aLive's units, but Scarlett will lose a significant portion of her economy if aLive focuses, but he's not paying attention. He's also going to get cornered, and we'll have to pick up and evacuate away. Scarlett does manage to stabilize, at least for just a second.
Yeah, nicely done by aLive, just making sure that he's going to consistently do damage, whether it be denying mining or doing direct damage by killing drones. Over here, these Marines are just going away at everything over here, denying the gas. Up to 15 workers killed already. aLive has done a fantastic job at shutting Scarlett down.
Ooh, big baneling detonation, but still, it's come a little bit later than Scarlett would ideally like. And aLive still has units harassing. There's a lot of damage being done with very little, and this is exactly what aLive wanted. You know, aLive was joking with Scarlett pre-game lobby saying, please at least let me win 1, Scarlett. But I think he's showing that he can win more than 1 at this pace.
Definitely so. This Widow Mine is going to just sit over here. That was such an interesting timing. It came at around 9.5 minutes. Now, there's normally 2 stages of TVZ matchup where you defend anywhere from 7 to 9 minutes and then 11 minutes to 13 minutes. I know that sounds weird, but normally when you are up against conventional play, I would say macro conventional play, that's the timings you have to look out with. Scarlett did not send in an Overlord in the beginning, so she should have realized that there was some sort of pressure coming, but of course, she wasn't scouting everything super comprehensively.
You know, it's so interesting because aLive's build feels more like a Terran versus Protoss build. You get 1 engineering bay, you poke out at the 10-minute mark, drop in the main base while trying to distract your opponent and moving out into the middle of the map. This is another good job by aLive, and now he's starting to take more territory. Scarlett has to be careful. She's morphing banelings to try to defend. 2-2 is not done yet, and she would ideally like to buy time for those upgrades to finish.
Mutas are engaging directly against Marines. Not that good, and now the third push has commenced. As you were talking about before, this is very, very difficult because at least aLive is getting a lot of creep spread receded. That is a tough, tough thing to deal with if you are a Zerg player trying to defend with Zerg and Baneling.
And Scarlett does manage to clean up the main base, but like you said, I just feel like there's not much control on the map because of how much the creep has been receding. And aLive, again, doing some janitorial work and making sure that all doors have been shut and the lights are off before he leaves the middle of the map.
Definitely so, and what Scarlett really needs are queens out in the middle of the map, just making sure creep tumors are put up again after everything is destroyed. Still spreading more creep. She's already in the middle of the map. Just little tiny units everywhere across the map. aLive is being really annoying, having these Widow Mines placed. Wow, this is actually pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's a very nice little nifty thing. Oh, Queen a little bit too far out. And aLive will manage to pick it off. Now, the supply counts for Scarlett are not looking very healthy for a 14.5-minute mark. By now, some of the best Zergs, when they're undisturbed, could be close to max with Mutiling, Bailing, and they're putting pressure on Terran. But instead, Scarlett's forced to play zone defense. She has to kind of continue to push back any kind of forms of aggression. She can't use the Mutas to harass, which is what they originally are great at, while drawing away attention and putting a lot of pressure back on aLive. It's the opposite way.
Yeah, it's just aLive's game. We were talking about that in the pre-game. Just aLive's macro is insane. He's able to just have constant production at all times, and with that, he just has more stuff to work with over you. Now, again, these multi-prong harasses dropping in the main/natural, and then also trying to recede the creep even more.
Another drop, picking off a Queen. Every single pickoff from aLive is be very useful, and it does. Scarlett is now trying to transition to Hive. Her upgrades are still 2-2, which is one more armor advantage over her opponent, but aLive has an intimidating army. Scarlett's going to try to even come in and get a surround, but the Marauders are taking in the front. Marines are trying to split. Excellent surround here from aLive, trying to avoid the Bane's detonations, and he does manage to get into excellent split, avoiding maximum damage potential from the Zerg army.
Unreal, but somehow Scarlett still has enough units to combat everything. Zerglings and Mutas are going to still reign supreme, cleaning up a couple of these medevacs. That was actually very nice for Scarlett, but God, was that great micro.
Oh, that Widow Mine almost took out a huge flock of Zerglings, but instead just a few. And a few by me like 7 or 8. That's my group counting is not very good.
From here, though, aLive, I think he's in pretty good position still. What do you think, Frodan?
For aLive? You know, his fourth base has been a little slow. It's 17 minutes. It's very slow.
But
I
so
was kind of
Scarlett,
surprised
right?
about that. Her fourth base is slow. She's not even really mining. She's now trying to saturate it. And it has been, and now she controls that area once again. Another Widow Mine. Has to be careful before it detonates. That's good. I think overall it's interesting because they're both somewhat low econ for 17 minutes. And keep in mind, aLive's been on triple orbital. If you look at his natural, he's also kind of low on resources as well. So he has to be really thinking about a fourth base soon. Otherwise, he's going to be cut dry very, very quickly.
And again, aLive doing this multi-prong harass. Going to go into the main base, and of course, he's going to push out somewhere on the map, trying to recede creep, make sure he has a lot of control. Scarlett's been doing such a good job. You always see Queens up and about, placing constant creep tumors. Things have been looking really, really good.
Another drop in the main, trying to draw Zerglings away. Scarlett funneling the Zerglings rather than getting for a surround. And that allows aLive to do, again, pretty good damage. Mutas finally being able to put on some counter pressure, picking off reactors is an excellent choice. The low hit points and cuts the production at the core.
Here we go, taking out the Queen that's out there. God, these players are just all over the map. This is insane how well they're controlling.
aLive again, trying to see if he uses medevac to drop into the main base while he pressures the fourth base. Scarlett's not going to be deterred as she's going to focus her efforts. aLive may have overstepped this bound. He is on creep. The Zerg trying to go for a surround. Is it enough here, Greedsorp?
I think so. Bailey's! Oh, we're not able to connect completely. It's going to be a full retreat. Zerglings are giving chase. And all those Mutas, can they get the right connections?
Oh, there's more reinforcements. aLive has a lot of army waiting back outside the natural. The Banes are trying to chase the army, and they do manage to land and get good connections. But in the main base as well, Greedsorp, so much damage has been dealt. The Spire's about to drop, and aLive does manage to strike back.
Yeah, really, really well done by aLive. Oh my gosh. He went to the perfect position off creep and was able to micro beautifully against those Banelings, mitigating damage and then doing this counter drop. These consistent drops are just so annoying for a Zerg player, and especially on Belshir Vestige. As you let time go on, it becomes harder and harder for you to take expansions. You're expanding closer to your opponent.
We let this command center pilot onto the army. He's driving the exact opposite direction he needs to be. There's a fourth base just wandering out into the middle of the map. That 20-minute scouting command center.
Most expensive.
I don't need scans. I have a command center in the middle of the map.
It's good, man. It's a magnet. That's what it is.
And now aLive says, oh, I finally realized where I'm going. He needs to think about fourth base, but he's going to continue to put on pressure. Meanwhile, mewless in the main base, focusing more reactors. This is what Scarlett needs to do to buy time so she can continue to mass up that army centered around Ultralisk as Hive is finished and the 3-3 upgrades are about to complete.
Cleaning up this drop, nicely done. Both these players are just, they're multitasking so well, but the mutas are going to be able to do a lot of damage. They're killing SCVs, but you have to keep in mind, you don't have a lot of mineral nodes to really mine from, so it's not that big of a deal. But now, into the fourth base, aLive's going to go for the snipe. He will get it. Banelings, though, where are they? Oh, you don't need them.
Yeah, just going to force them back. Mewless will be able to catch him! Excellent pickoffs for Scarlett as anything. Well, every single unit is very valuable for aLive because he is mined out of 2 bases already, and his third is getting extremely low as well. We're coming up on 22 minutes, and every single resource is valuable. Scarlett also has to deal with another mini drop in the main. aLive just, again, he's trying to buy time as well. Lots of nice harass going across the map.
Yeah, definitely so, but aLive is getting thinned out. As you said, mining out of the... I mean, if he loses this base with the Planetary Fortress, it's going to be very difficult. But also, look at Scarlett. She's mining out of the main base, sort of, out of the natural quite a bit. The third base is getting very low. So Scarlett needs her bases as well. She's trying to take a fourth and fifth base. It's just been so hard to cover every single time.
aLive is going to skip the Zerg welcoming party and head straight to the third base. Scarlett is trying to keep tabs on every single medevac on the field. Meanwhile, aLive trying to keep Scarlett on low econ as well. Going to head over to the fifth base and try to pick it off. Mewless dies immediately upon birth. And now Scarlett will try to see if he can pick up any units as she can. She does save the main base, and she also is trying to see if he can get any units in response.
Oh, my goodness, aLive being so risky there. Oh, nice Baneling connections. Clearing up that harass at the third base. Now going over into the fourth, fifth base. Scarlett will have units over there. Gonna shut this down easily.
And, very good job again by Scarlett. And now, she kind of has a pretty inconsistent form of income, but so does aLive. As now he has a base and a half, and he's utilizing his mules, really trying to just run Scarlett dry while keeping on the pressure. A very nice attempt at a tempo-based style, but at the same time, Scar's been expanding very aggressively, considering how many hatcheries he's been losing.
Yeah. I do have to say, though, aLive has not been getting nearly enough mines this game. I mean, that could really help so much, but he just hasn't been able to amass the right amount of numbers. Now finally clearing up.
You're right, Greetorby. I mean, he does have a good mine count. It's just that he's not keeping it with his armies. He's spreading it all over. If you jump on aLive's vision, it's scattered all over. And he's trying to keep good coverage. He's also dropping into the fourth base of Scarlett once again, trying to be as vexing as possible while trying to go engage a couple Ultralisks, trying to rebel against the Overmind. Has to be careful.
Going into the main base now with another drop. aLive is relentless with these attacks. But the main engagement, and they're in... Oh my goodness! Big Widow Mine clearing up so many Banelings. And now the drop into the main base is going to do some pretty nice damage. But again, another main attack with those mutas will start to clear up some of these add-ons.
Oh, but Greetorp, while this entire harassment is going on, Scarlett does have Infestors. If she can lock it down, good fungals could change the entire outcome of the army. As he does manage to land them. Huge detonations for Scarlett. And the Ultras will clean it up. Mewless still ravaging the main base of aLive. And now starting to work onto the Starport tech. aLive's army is pretty thin. And Scarlett is going to take a break.
Oh, little X, everything's okay? Everything's okay, guys? No worries. Still pressuring on to this fifth base, but he has to be so careful. aLive doesn't have a lot of units left. Now Baneling's rolling in. And the mutas, as you said, Frodan, are able to clear up so much production now just getting out of there. Those Overseers do have that Overlord speed, making them a little bit faster. But aLive, remember, he does have this expansion. He has the mules. It helps out. Production is scattered all over the place, so he has insurance with the positions. Yes, he loses a couple barracks, but it's okay.
Oh, these Widow Mines! Oh, they do manage to do some damage onto the Infestors, but Scarlett can't afford to get hit yet again. There are a lot sectioned over here by the Watchtower. Scarlett's Overseers are not on that side of the map. They are sticking with the Mutalisks. And now Scarlett's transitioning into Broodlords, which can completely change the outcome because it'll be hard for aLive to engage without Viking support.
That's right. And on top of that, mitigating the damage from those mines, that's one of the most important things. It gives Scarlett the aggressive nature that she can finally push out onto the field and not worry that, splash damage outside of creep will kill her.
Has to be careful. Mutalisk trying to one-shot the Wind of Mines before detonation. As now Scarlett has a few Broodlords to start picking off at this army. Now keep in mind, a big chunk of aLive supply is in these mines that can be pretty useless in this regard because Broodlords do have those free units. And this is how Scarlett will end up dealing with it, while aLive is going to have to start transitioning to Vikings. But he did lose his reactor, only one Viking at a time. And this is going to give a nice window for Scarlett to be able to completely overwhelm aLive if she can get a good engagement.
Yeah, look at how much position she's taking. All she needs is additional creep spread, and she will have the most perfect possible engagement that she can get. But she's just going to be slow with it. She realizes, hey, I can play a war of attrition, not really worry.
Good catch on one side, but aLive also trying to drop and grab the attention of Scarlett on the other. Again, needs more time for the Vikings to be able to get out. Scarlett also has to be wary because during this entire time, aLive is still sharking around, seeing any opportunity to pick off her Broodlord from behind if Scarlett's not cautious.
Yeah, aLive's doing everything right. As soon as Scarlett moves out into the map, he's instantly dropping, forcing all the units back. You worked so hard to get that position, and guess what? It's nullified right away. Oh! Wow, Fungal Growth so close from actually getting a huge connection with those Marines. Again.
For the second round of Fungal Growth, locks down a lot of the Marauders, and you need those Marauders.
Okay,
in fact,
the Marines.
aLive's going to take this notion to go ahead and engage Fungals everywhere. Does Scarlett have enough to push back? The Ultras are so low health. Marauders are pushing forward, trying to see if he can get any damage onto the Infestors, but the Broodlord count is so high enough that it can kill off a lot of these Marines.
And the Medivacs being taken out is so detrimental. All of a sudden, the hardiness of the Terran army is blown away. aLive needs to go back to the drawing board. What does he really have to defend against all these units that are just streaming in? The war of attrition will go to Scarlett.
What a ragtag team of Zerg units. Only a few units with every single genre here, or every branch of the tech tree on Zerg. A few Corruptors, a few Ultras, and one Ultralist who isn't satisfied with one kill. He'll stop at 12, though.
12 kills isn't bad, man. And
Low energy on these Infestors, though, Greedtorb. Oh, Scarlett has to be extremely cautious. We'll have to toss out a Fungal right before it dies. But Scarlett still has these Corruptors trying to zone off with the Broodlords.
She has air control. That's so great. As you said, the Broodlords, but there it is.
Scarlett